Welcome to Splash Games and Family Board Game Friday. Today I'm going to give you an introduction to modern board gaming. I'm really excited about this video today. I know a lot of people are starting to get into the board gaming hobby and want to learn more about some of the terms that we use in board gaming and just kind of some of the different genres of board games. So I'm going to go through those today and hopefully you can learn a little bit more about the hobby that I really love. If you'd like to support our channel, be sure to click the link below for our Amazon store. And there's a bunch of great games there that you can buy and it will also help our channel. As we talk about these genres of games, I'm going to do it in alphabetical order, and we're also going to talk about some game terms that you'll want to know if you're starting the board game hobby. So we'll start off with abstract strategy. Abstract strategy games are chess and checkers. They're not really a theme to them, but they're really strategic on how to move your pieces around. Some modern abstract strategy games are, and probably the most popular is Azul. It's a tile laying game where you're laying tiles down and trying to put them in certain spaces to try and get the most points. A really beautiful game. One of my favorites is Sagrada, where you roll dice and you're trying to put the dice in certain spots and trying to get the most points that you can. So abstract strategy is usually, like I said, not really a theme, but really strategic on how to place the pieces around. And those are some abstract strategy games. Okay, next we're going to talk about some action selection games, and the word actions is used quite a lot in modern board gaming. An action is basically a choice. You choose what you want to do. So in an action selection game, for example, in Tekenoko, you have two actions. You can choose to move the panda, move the gardener, get new tiles. So you can choose different actions or choices to do on your turn. Same with Revive. I just got this game and loving it. This is more family friendly. This is a little heavier, but in this game there's 5 action choices and there's a little cube and you put it on what action you want to do. So you can do the same action twice, and like I said, the actions are choices of what you're going to do. So in this game, I can choose to flip over a tile. I can choose to play a card. So you just choose your actions and do those actions or choices. And those are some action selection games. All right, next is area control. These are games where you are trying to control the area, like Risk. If you've ever played Risk, whoever controls the most area or controls all the area wins, right? So some modern games like that are Small World. This is a very small world and you're trying to control different areas and get points. Also, a new game that's on my wish list is El Grande. They just came out with a new version of it. It's really beautiful and I've been really dying to try it. And in El Grande, you're supposed to try and control different parts and you get points for how many areas you control. And those are some area control games. Okay, next are betting games. These are games where you place bets or put your bets in or try and bet on the winner of the race. So for example, Equinox is a game where you're trying to guess what animal will survive by the end of the game. Really beautiful game. And Camel Up, they do have a newer version of this. I have the older version. But in Camel Up, there's a bunch of camels and you're trying to bet on which one is going to win. 2 great betting games. Camel Up and Equinox. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about are campaign and legacy games. Campaign and legacy games, these are games that you play once and then the next time you play, you continue from where you left off. So, for example, Fabled Fruit. In this game, you're gathering fruit and making juice, And there's 6 decks out of cards. And when you make juice, you take the card. And once one pile is gone, you go to the box and bring in a new pile. And there's different little powers on each of the cards. And there's, I think, 54 or 65 decks, different little decks in here. So each time you play, you're adding more decks and learning new powers. And it's just super fun because each time you play, it's kind of a different game, and it's changing each time you play. So this is a campaign game. It can be reset, and what you play before doesn't really make a difference in what game you play next. Unlike a legacy game, here we have Pandemic Legacy. This game, when you play it, you're going to be adding stickers to the board. You're going to be getting different powers. And then the next game you play, you will build on that. So the board will keep changing, your powers will keep changing. You are going to want to play with the same players each time because you're going to be building up the board and the rules and the exploring of it. So it's a really fun, but I think with a legacy game, you're probably going to want to play with the same group all the time. And those are some campaign and legacy games. Basically, games that keep on playing, and then once you're done, sometimes you can reset them, or sometimes you just are done playing the game, but they usually give you 10 to 15 games of play in the box. Next is co-op games. A co-op game is a game where everybody is playing together to beat the game. And I really love these games. One, a lot of people tell me that they hate playing with their friend because their friend always has to win and they're just too competitive. And that's when a co-op game is great because the whole group is working together to win the game. Or if you're playing with younger children, co-op games are good too because you can help them along and you're all working together, and so you can help them on their turns. So those are 2 really great reasons for co-op games, and because they're just fun. The main cooperative game that kind of started the genre of cooperative games is Pandemic. We just saw Pandemic Legacy. But here are a few other games that I really love. Loop. In Loop, Dr. Foe is traveling through time and causing time warps, and you're trying to stop him as a whole team. And each of your team has special powers, and you're going through and trying to defeat Dr. Foe. My husband and I played this the other day and totally lost. So I'm dying to try it again so that we can win. But I love the idea of this co-op working together to try and stop him. Another game that we love playing is The Mind. It's a cooperative card game. So everybody has cards and they're trying to get rid of them, all working together to try and get them all in order. It's such a simple game. It's so fun trying to read people's minds, and it's so amazing when it really works. And that's The Mind. And that's some cooperative games where you're just working together to beat the game, and it's so fun. Okay, next we're going to talk about deck, dice, and bag building. The genre kind of started with deck building, where you have a hand of cards, but then there's a bunch of cards down on the table, and you can buy better cards to put in your hand. And then you discard them and pick another. And my favorite deck building game is Dominion, and it's up there and it's in a huge box, so I don't want to get it down, but it's kind of what I was explaining. Have a deck of cards and just make it better and better by getting better and better cards. Another game that's actually a bag builder is Quacks of Quedlinburg. You have a bag of tokens and you're trying to get the best tokens that you can, and you just keep building your bag better and better and draw out better tokens. And Quacks of Quedlinburg, so fun. And that's a few dice, deck, and bag building games. Now let's talk about deduction games and social deduction games. These are 2 totally different genres to me because I love deduction games and I hate social deduction games. So let me differentiate what they are. A deduction game is sort of like Mastermind. If you've ever played that classic game where you're trying to deduce what the colors are behind the shield. Some of the deduction games I have are right here. Turing Machine, where you're trying to deduce the code. I love this game. Decorum, which is a co-op game where you're all working together to try and agree on how the apartment should look. It's so fun because you're all you all have ways you want the apartment to look, and you have to figure out what everybody else wants. Decorum. I love deduction games. So how does that differentiate between a social deduction game? In social deduction games, you're sort of lying to hide from the other people who they are, and they have to deduce who's lying, right? So, for example, in One Night Werewolf, I'm not sure if you've ever played Werewolf, but this is a shorter version, One Night Ultimate Werewolf. In this game, someone's the wolf, and you have to figure out who they are, and then there's some bad guys that are on the wolf's team, and some good guys that are on the townspeople team. So you have to just try and deduce who everybody is while you're lying and trying to make it seem like you're not the wolf. And it has an app that helps play the game. And my son's favorite game, Secret Hitler, deduction game when you try and find out who's the allies and who's the Axis, and I hate these games because I don't like lying. I'm really good at it, but I just don't like it. It brings me anxiety. But the thing is, my board game group, my ladies game night, they love these games, and all the teenagers love these games. So I had to put it in here, but now you know the difference between a deduction game and a social deduction game. All right, now let's talk about dexterity games. Dexterity games are games where you're gonna use your hands to flick something or move something or be careful with something. A few of those that I have are flip ships. In this game, there's like the mothership and a bunch of cards for the smaller ships, and you're flicking your ships to try and hit the mothership and destroy some of the other ships that are coming. Love this game. Flip ships, flicking and trying to get and to destroy all the ships coming down. In Ice Cool, you're flicking penguins around the school to try and get the fish that you can. I love the penguins. They're kind of wobbly and fun. Great for kids too. And that's Ice Cool and a few dexterity games. The next games are dungeon crawl games. I'm not usually a huge fan of dungeon crawl. They're usually heavier games where you're going down into a dungeon. You're using these miniature figures and going down defeating these monsters, and it's just not usually my thing. The one dungeon crawl I do love is Clank Catacombs. I had Clank, but Clank Catacombs is 10 times better. And you're basically going down into a dungeon and grabbing stuff and coming back. I love Clank Catacombs. It's the one dungeon crawl that I do love. One of my son's favorite games is Gloomhaven, which is a huge, big box of miniatures and dungeon crawling and rules, and yeah, not my favorite thing, but I do love Clank. It's the one dungeon crawl I love. Okay, let's talk about drafting and drafting games. In drafting games, you're going to have either some dice or cards, and for example, if you have a hand of cards, you're going to pick one card and you're going to play it, and then you're going to hand the rest of your cards over to the next player. Then you're going to get some from the player to your right, and you're going to look at those, and you're going to play one, and then you're going to pass it. And you keep doing that until the cards run out. And the cards you play are going to give you points or powers or whatever. I just love this mechanism of games because you're looking at the cards and you want to take a card for yourself, but you don't want to give your opponent, the person you're passing to, good cards usually. And so you're like, should I put this down so they don't get it, or should I put down the card I really want? I just love this mechanism. It's so amazing. Sushi Go Party is a super light version of this. Sushi Go, I think you can just get at Target or Walmart. But Sushi Go Party is has a little more choices where you can change out the cards. A really fun game where you're just trying to get all the points you can, and it's drafting. My favorite drafting game is Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders has Seven Wonders Architects, which is a little lighter than this. Seven Wonders Duel, which is 2-player only. But in Seven Wonders, up to 7 players can take a hand of cards, and you're trying to build your wonder up. So you're going to take the resources you need, pass the cards, grab more cards, take what else you need, pass the cards, take the cards, and I just love the game Seven Wonders, and I love the mechanism of drafting. It's just super fun. Okay, next we're going to talk about games with engine building. And in engine building games, you might start the game with just a few little things to do, but as you build your engine, you're going to be able to do more and more and more things. For example, the most popular or favorite, well, my favorite engine building game is Wingspan. And in this game you have a habitat and you can do a few things. Get a little food, get a few eggs, get a few cards. But as you build out your habitat, pretty soon you're getting a ton of food or a ton of eggs or a ton of cards. And the longer the game goes, the more stuff you can do. I love it, and I love the theme of the birds. That's the engine building Wingspan. Another fun engine building game is My Farm Shop. You start with a field that doesn't have very much good stuff on it, but as the game goes, you're going to get better and better and better field to do more stuff and get more points. It's a super easy game, My Farm Shop. I really love it. And that's kind of a synopsis of engine building, right? You're starting with small stuff you can do, and you just try and get better and try and build your engine the best you can. All right, I'm going to try and explain Euro games next. This is sort of a very generic term nowadays. It started by having German games. Like the first modern board game I ever played was Settlers of Catan. And it's an ugly game, but it's so strategic and so fun, right? And similar to Notre Dame, it's kind of ugly, but it's really fun. And they kind of came from the Europe area, and so all these games were called Euro games because they were from Europe. And now, because the US and other countries are putting out all these games, they're kind of just called modern board games now. They're strategic, and I guess Euro style, I don't know, maybe someone else can explain it better in the comments, but when I think of a Euro game, I just think of a super strategic hour to 3 hour board game. So yeah, sorry, that doesn't explain it very well, but that is what I call a Euro game. Now let's talk to something lighter. Filler games. When I go to a game night, I usually do start with what we call filler games, and it's something super easy that everybody can play, or it's something that you can do while you're waiting for everybody to arrive, and they're usually super easy games like Point Salad, which is like 15 to 30 minutes, or Super Mega Lucky Box, which is also super short game. They're super easy, super light filler games that you can just play in a few minutes but are still super fun. So we call those filler games. Okay, on to hidden movement games. In hidden movement games, someone is hiding, or a bunch of people. For example, in this game, Nuns on the Run, my board game group loves this game. One person plays the nuns, and they're going to find all the kids that have escaped their rooms to go get in the middle of the night to get cake and everything. And all the girls are running around the board trying to hide from the nuns. And how they do that is they secretly write down where they are on the board. And so I, if I'm the nuns, am trying to go and find the girls, and if I get close enough, I can see them, and then their actual piece has to appear, and I can catch them. And if I catch 3 girls, I win, and if someone gets back to their room after they've caught their stuff, they win. It's so fun because everybody's trying to hide from the nuns and stay away from the nuns who are walking around. I wish Nuns on the Run was a little simplified. It seems like most of the hidden movement games are a little too complex. I wish there were some simpler ones. And I just love this genre, and I just love the hiding part of it. It's just really fun. Okay, party games. You guys know what party games are. You've played party games, Taboo and Gestures and all those. But there's some new modern party games. Great for parties is Hitster. You have 2 teams, and you play a song, and you have to guess the date of the song and put it in between all your other dates. And whoever gets 10 songs and the dates they came out wins. So fun. And it's especially fun to play with different generations, because there's 40 songs and there's 23 songs. So super fun hitster. Another fun party game is Fun Facts. They might have a question like, how many hobbies do you have? And everybody writes secretly how many they have and puts it down, and you try and put everybody's in order. Who has the most, who has the less, work together. It's a co-op game, a co-op party game, and super fun facts. And those are some party games. The next topic we're going to talk about is pick up and deliver. And in these games, you're going around a board usually, and you're grabbing something and you're delivering it to another part of the board. So one of these games, for example, is Black Fleet. In Black Fleet, you have a ship and you're trying to pick up goods and deliver them across the sea and not get hit by pirates, because the pirates will take your goods. It's a really fun theme, Black Fleet. Another sort of pick up and deliver game is Istanbul. In this game, you have a bunch of workers and you're going around and dropping them off, and then you go back and pick them up as you go. So I don't know if it's real pick up and deliver like Black Fleet where you're delivering goods, but it kind of has that feel where you're dropping off workers and then you go back and pick them up. So kind of pick up and deliver. But that is the meaning of a pick up and deliver game. Now I'm going to talk about Polyomino Games. Polyomino is like a Tetris shape, right? And a lot of games are using this Tetris shape. Let's see. Isle of Cats. You can see here the shapes. In Isle of Cats, you grab polyomino shapes and there's cats on them. And you're trying to put them on your boat, rescue the cats, and try and put the cats of the same color in a group and complete missions. And yeah, I love polyomino shapes and working with them. Here's 10 Penny Parks. In 10 Penny Parks, all the roller coasters and all the concessions are all polyomino shapes, and you're trying to build the best park that you can, the best amusement park. Yeah, really fun. And that is a kind of a definition of polyomino games. Okay, the next genre I want to talk about is push your luck games. We already talked Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is like my favorite push your luck game, where you're drawing stuff out of the bag and you don't want to grab too much. But another one is Can't Stop. I found this at a thrift store, super old version, but it's so fun. And you can get a brand new version of it where you're trying to race to the top and you just can't stop. You got to push your luck, and whoever pushes their luck the best gets to the top. So love push your luck games. All right, let's talk about racing games. These are games where you're racing to the end or trying to get someplace first. Hopefully if you get there first, you'll win, right? The first one is Cubitos. And this is a game where you're racing around the track and trying to be the first one to get to the end, and then you win. It's a dice building game, which we talked about, deck and dice building, where you're getting better and better dice to get you farther and farther on this track. And that's Cubitos. And we just got this game, El Dorado. And in this game, you're trying to find El Dorado, right? It's the quest for El Dorado, and you're going through different terrain and playing cards to get you through the desert and the forest. And yeah, I love the quest for El Dorado, where you're racing to find El Dorado. And these are a few great racing games. Okay, next we're going to talk about real-time games, and these are usually very stressful. My husband does not like real-time games. In real-time game, there's no turns and everybody just plays at the same time. And so sometimes it can be really stressful. One classic real-time game that we always loved growing up was Pit, where you're just as fast as you can trying to get the corner the market. But there's some new modern board games. One game that we really love is Magic Maze, and in this game a bunch of characters are trying to go into the mall and steal stuff and get out as fast as they can. And this is a cooperative game, so everybody's working together, and there's no talking. So you're trying to move characters around, and you can only move them certain ways, and so other people are trying to get you to move the characters they want you to move, and It's really fun, and you can do big maps or small maps. Really fun Magic Maze real-time game. Here's my favorite real-time game. It's called Fuse, and you're rolling dice and everybody's working to try and defuse bombs, and you have exactly 10 minutes to defuse all your bombs. And another co-op game that you're all working together, but it's super stressful and fun, and that's Fuse. Really fun, but really stressful real-time games. Okay, let's talk about roll and write and flip and write games. The roll and write game you probably know is Yahtzee, right? You're rolling the dice and then you write down on a piece of paper. That is considered a roll and write. But there's some more modern ones, some that are super complex, but I have some more lighter ones. The first one I love is Cartographers. This is a flip and write, so you're flipping a card with a polyomino shape on it, and you're filling in that shape on your paper. And my friend got me a bunch of colored pencils so we could actually use colors, which is amazing. And I love Cartographers, where you're plotting out your land with polyomino shapes on your paper. And of course it comes with a huge stack of papers that you write on. And then I don't even have a box for this anymore. We've used it so much, and we ran out of paper, so I made ones that we could just use the dry erase on, but it's Ganz schön clever. When I first got it, it was only in German, so it's in English now though, and I think it's That's So Clever. I don't know. I'll put it up so you can see what it is. But yeah, you roll the dice and then you mark your sheet what you want that dice to do, and yeah, we play this all the time. I learned how to play it on an airplane, actually. I was going to a board game convention and somebody was playing it. I'm like, can you teach me? And they taught me how to play it on an airplane. Super fun, Ganz schön clever. And Cartographers, roll and writes. They're really fun. And there's a ton of them out now. Next, we're talking about set collection. Set collection is when you're trying to get as many cards in that color as you can. You're collecting a set of cards. And my favorite set collection game is Nidavellir, where you're going to pubs and you're recruiting as many dwarves as you can to fight the dragon that's coming. And you want to collect them in the same colors if you can, because then you'll get more points. And that's Nidavellir. And of course, we all love Ticket to Ride if you've played it. Over 1.1 million sold. I'm sure it's a lot more than that by now, because this is so old and thrashed. We played this a lot. Basically, you're collecting sets of the same color of trains so you can lay your train tracks down to try and get from one city to the next city, whichever your cards say. So we love Ticket to Ride, and these are some great set collection games where you're just trying to get sets of cards. Okay, let's talk about solo games. You've probably played solitaire before, but a lot of board games are coming out with solo versions of games. So for example, Wingspan that I showed you earlier has a solo version. So I've played that by myself. Sagrada has a solo version. So these games sometimes have solo versions. So if nobody will play a game with you, you can play the solo version. But there are some games that are specifically meant for solo players. So one of those games I just got was Pocket Landship, where it's kind of like World 1 themed, but with mechs. And they're coming down and trying to destroy you, and you're rolling dice and trying to destroy them, and they're rolling dice and trying to destroy you. It's a fun little game. And then Under Falling Skies, sort of like Space Invaders, but the board game. They've got ships coming down to attack you, and you're trying to shoot at them and learn as much as you can about the aliens. Under Falling Skies, an amazing solo game. So there are some games out there to play solo if you're tired of solitaire. Okay, next are tile placement games. This is where you're taking tiles and placing them in front of you. Normally, I don't like tile placement games. I'm not sure why. Every time someone does a review of one, I'm just not interested. But there is one that I really love. and that is framework, where you're grabbing tiles and you're building this whole frame and trying to get as many points as you can. It's a super quick and light game, and I've just been playing it with all my friends lately and my family. So if there's a tile placement game that you really love, then put it in the comments and people can see other tile placement games that people like. I love framework, and I just haven't found any other ones that I love. So I guess Azul is a tile placement game that I mentioned earlier, and I do like that one, but I like framework better. Okay, now we're going to talk about trick-taking games, and these are card games, and not all card games are trick-taking games. So in trick-taking games, you'll have a hand of cards, and there's someone that leads a card out, and then the next player has to play the same color or suit if they can. And then the next player plays the same color or suit if they can, and then the next player plays the same color. And once all the cards have been played, whoever has the highest card in the color led takes the trick. So the pile in the middle is called a trick. And that's why it's called a trick-taking game. So they take the pile, and hopefully it gives them points. If they win, whoever wins takes the trick. And usually whoever wins the trick plays the next card. They play a card, and then everybody else plays a card, hopefully the same suit. And whoever wins that trick takes it and then plays the next card. And that's usually how trick-taking games go. Many trick-taking games have a trump color or suit. And the trump color or suit beats all the other colors or suits. So, for example, in the game Rook, everybody bids to see how many points they think they can get, and whoever wins the bid gets to pick which color is trump. So they'll look at their hand, see what color they have a lot of and high cards of, and they'll pick that color as trump. And then they will lead a card, and everyone else has to play that color if they have it. If they don't, they can play another color, or maybe even play trump to try and win the trick. So that's how Rook is played. Also, the Crew is a trick-taking game, and this is a cooperative trick-taking game, and it's super fun because everybody's working together. And you might have a mission like the starting player has to win the green 8. And so you'll play a trick and hope to get the right person to win the green 8. And if you do, you get to go to the next mission. So that's super fun, the Crew. Another game a lot of people play that's trick-taking is Skull King, so that might be one you've already played before. But I love trick-taking games, especially Rook. It's one of my favorites to play with my family. And that is the definition of a trick-taking game. Okay, 2-player only games. We talked about solo games that you play by yourself. Most of these games that I've shown you can play 2 players, but there are some games that are only 2-player games. And a few of my favorites are Splendor Duel. We love Splendor, but when we're playing 2-player instead of playing Splendor, we'll take out Splendor Duel because it's a little more strategic than Splendor. A few more little rules, but I think it's even more fun. And Blitzkrieg. World War II in 20 minutes. And it's true. It's World War II in 20 minutes. Half of you are the Axis, half of you are the Allies, and you're trying to win these campaigns, and really fun Blitzkrieg. Some 2-player only games. We love to take these on trips, me and my husband, because they're usually smaller than the other games. All right, I think we're on to word games. Here's all my word games. You probably have played Scrabble and Boggle. Here's some newer ones though, Code Names. Maybe many of you have played it, where it's kind of a party word game where you put out a bunch of words and someone's trying to get you to guess certain things. Here's Paperback. It's a deck building game with words, so you're gonna have S-T-R-L-E, just the easy letters, and you put them down and try and get better letters with better powers and better points. Yeah, it's really fun. As you can see, a lot of these games have different mechanisms to them. Like this is a word game. It's also a deck building game. Or Quacksequedlinburg. It's a bag building game. Plus, it's a pressure luck game. So there's games that have 5 or 6 mechanisms to them, but they're just all fun. All right, and that's it for the word games. Now let's talk about worker and dice placement. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of a meeple. Here's one. It's sort of the symbol for the board gaming world are these meeples. And usually they're used in worker placement, and dice are used in dice placement. And meeples can come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. There's my favorite, a puffin from Far Shore. Here's a maid that I put stickers on for Obsession. So there's all these different workers, that they call them, or meeples. And on the board, there's going to be a bunch of different actions that you can take. So choices that you can make. You can put your worker down and do that action. So let me give you some examples. In viticulture, you are a winemaker and you put your workers out to make wine. You can put a worker out to harvest the field. You can put a worker out to make the wine. You can put a worker out to sell the wine. You can put a worker out to get visitors. So you're sending out your workers to try and do the best actions that you can on the board. Another worker placement game is Stone Age. And in this, you're sending out your workers to get resources, to get food, to get gold, to get cards, to build buildings. So you're sending out your workers from the Stone Age to go do Stone Age things. So these are both worker placement. There's also dice placement, where you're putting dice out and you roll your dice and then you put them in certain spots depending on what the numbers are. Okay, here's 2 dice placement games. We've got Rajas of the Ganges, where you're rolling dice and putting them out depending, like if I roll a 6, I can put it over by the, do one action, but if I roll a 2, I get a different action. Or I can use dice to go up the river. And then Alien Frontiers is you're exploring space, and depending on what dice you roll, if you roll 3 of a kind, you can put it somewhere. If you roll 6s, you can put it somewhere. So yeah, these are dice placement. We've got the worker placement, where we use the meeples, and we've got the dice placement, where you place your dice out, depending on what you roll. It's all fun. Those are all the genres that I was going to talk about today. If you know more kinds of games that you like, put it in the description below. We'd love you to support our channel by checking out our Amazon shop, and especially subscribing and liking our channel, and check us out on Fridays for our Family Board Game Friday. Also, I've filmed my game room previously, but I'm going to be doing it again in the next few weeks. With all the updates I've done on my game room, go through all my games, show you kind of how I put my game room together. So look for that in the description. It probably will appear in a few weeks is when I'm hoping to get that done, because it's sort of a big project. But check that out. And I hope you love board games as much as I do, or I hope I've shown you how to love them. And thanks for watching.